Tying another wet fly from Ray Bergman's book Trout today. This is a fly called the Gosling. Don't know much about the history or anything on this fly. It's a fairly straightforward, simple fly with a gray tail, floss body, some gray wings, and a gray hackle on it. A lot of nice earth tones on this, probably a little caddis imitation. That's the Gosling. I'll get started tying. So I'm going to start the Gosling with my hook in the vise. This is a Mustad 33.99 in a size 6. I'm going to debarb the hook, make certain it's clamped in the vise real good. Now I'm going to, because this has a floss body, a green floss body, I don't want to darken it up with a black thread, so I'm going to start off with a 70 denier Danville in white. I'm going to attach this about an eye length behind the eye of the hook, advancing my thread down along the hook shank, getting a nice base layer of thread in there. There is no tip on this, but there is a tail. The tail is just some gray hackle fibers. I'm going to use some schlappen here. I've got some nice gray schlappen hackles here. I prefer that because the barbs on these are nice and soft and they're long. They're not real stiff like, say, on a cape or a rooster cape or something like that. So these are going to just be a little bit softer. So I'm going to take maybe 10, maybe a dozen barbs there, a little less. And I'm going to tie those in. I want these to be about a shank length, maybe a little bit longer shank plus to the bend of the hook. I tend to like the tails a little bit longer on some of these wet flies. I tie that in and wrap my thread down a few wraps to secure that. And then I'm going to tie in the floss. I'm using a Danville. This is a Danville 4-strand Rayon in a green. It's kind of a light insect green. The recipe calls for a just green floss, but I didn't want to use something dark like a Kelly green. I'm going to attach that and then draw that back so that it is almost to the body. I've got one strand that's a little short there, so I'll just cut the rest of that off so that it's the length of the body. I start wrapping my thread forward, some wax on my thread. Just wrap this as best you can with touching turns. It just keeps it a nice smooth underbody. Coming up here and stopping at the end of the body. Now I'll wrap that floss in. So that is at the end of the body. I'll secure that floss. And I'll trim away the excess. You certainly can for the tail if you want something a little sparser, maybe not as webby. There's a lot of barbules on those that kind of keep those together, but you could certainly put in some rooster hackles if you want something that's going to look a little bit more spread out. Wrap my thread forward to the eye of the hook, and here I'm going to change over to my finishing thread. I'm using a Danville 70 denier in black. I've already put some wax on the thread. Attach that behind the eye of the hook, advancing rearward to trap in the white thread and the tag of black. I'm going to advance my thread back to the rear portion of the head. There's a wing, and the wing is a light slate. I'm using some duck feathers here for this. You could certainly use some goose if you want to, but these duck feathers will work for me. They're not quite as light, I think, on the outside as they could be. They're lighter on the inside, so you could tie these together with both the concave sides together if you wanted something a little bit lighter. I'm going to get my right side and then match this up and get my left side out. I want to match up the ends of these first. In this case, I'm getting the bottoms together and that lower corner, and you can see that the wing on my side, the left side, is a little too wide. So I will use my bodkin to separate 4 or 5 of those barbs right there, and then I've got both sides the same width, and I've got them together. So I can place them up here. I want the tips to go about halfway down the tail. I'm going to pinch and loop this, and I'm going to pinch pretty hard with my hands right here because I want to anchor the wing here so it draws the front part down and not the rear portion or the wing portion. That way you get that kind of nicer slope there. Trim away the excess. Probably see some of my threads a little frayed there. I've got, it's that wonderful time of year where it's very dry, and thus my hands are kind of rough. You can use an emery board, by the way, to smooth your fingers out a little bit if you want to. I probably should have done that because when you're pinching these things together and that thread kind of rakes down across your finger, it can shred it just a little bit. Now, the collar on this is just a gray hackle. I think it just calls for a light gray. Nope, just gray is the recipe. I'm using a hen neck that I have right here. I want to select a feather that the barbs will, when they are wrapped in, will be about from the front of the hook to inside the throat of the hook. So initially I'm just going to isolate the tip here, trim that off so I have a little anchor. I can put that anchor up here and just tie that in. I'm going to leave my thread right behind the eye of the hook. Take my hackle pliers. I'll get about 3 wraps in here. Folding back some of those barbs just makes it go in a little bit smoother. So I want to wrap this forward, kind of working my way up to right behind the eye of the hook. Another wrap right there. Get that anchored in. Then moistening my fingers just a little bit to help so they don't slide. I'm going to slide all of that back rearward and then start wrapping my thread to make the head. That's why I left my thread right smack up against the eye of the hook there. I can pop that off. And then a few more wraps to clean that up. And we have a nice, neat, even head on our fly. Flatten my thread so I can put in my whip finish. Trim away my thread. Now I'm going to apply some fly tight head cement on here. This is just going to soak down into those thread wraps to secure those. I'll come back and I'll put 2 layers of a clear lacquer on there and then a layer of a black lacquer, and our Gosling is complete. I'll try and fluff that tail out just a little bit. So understand, when this is floating in the water and swimming through the water, all of these hackles and everything are kind of flying all over the place, or swimming all over the place, which is what you want. So there you go. That is the Gosling from Ray Bergman's book, Trout. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com, where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.